Welcome back to Skinfluence, the podcast where we cover skincare, health, wellness, lifestyle, everything to help you look and feel your best from the inside out. I'm Dr. Dustin Portela, board-certified dermatologist, joining you as your host today with...
I'm Austin Lee. I'm the co-host with Dr. Portela, and I'm a physician assistant at Treasure Valley Dermatology here in Boise, Idaho.
And we're grateful for you guys for joining us on this journey for the Skinfluence podcast. I think this is episode number 12. It's been super fun so far.
I've enjoyed it.
So we are going to talk about tattoos today.
Lovely tattoos. Something I'm too scared to get.
Too scared to get. I never thought I would get one, and we can talk about them because I technically have 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
I know you had 1.
Yeah.
But...
So we'll have to go over all of that.
We'll have to find out all the details.
Yeah. What kind of tattoos does Dr. Portela have?
Show and tell.
So first off, let's talk about what actually happens when you get a tattoo.
Right.
So when you get a tattoo, this has been an ancient practice, obviously. But the idea is that you're using a needle that punctures the skin to introduce some type of ink into the skin. And as it pushes it down into the dermis, the ink is large enough particles that it just stays in the skin.
Right.
It's not so small that the immune system is going to gobble this up and carry it away immediately. And a tattoo is a general term. Obviously, we think of it mostly as ink. And it's in, different types of designs that showcase your personality or an affiliation, tribal tattoos, things like that. Maybe gang tattoos, all sorts of different things. But also, we see people who get lead tattoos. I got stabbed, by Gracie in the 2nd grade with her pencil when she got mad at me. And
now I have this
they
spot
have
here.
a spot on their hand, and that's technically a tattoo.
Yep.
So tattoo is just the introduction of usually a non-biodegradable ink under the skin in a design that is going to stay there and serve some purpose to you for, showing off your personality or whatever some, deeper meaning is to you. Most people get a tattoo that has some meaning to them.
Totally. So. And they're always fun to look at.
Yeah.
When we're doing skin checks in the office, whenever someone comes with a tattoo, I'm like, oh, let's check out the artwork.
Yeah.
And there's some amazing tattoos.
There's some incredible art.
Incredible art.
I've really come to appreciate them. And when a patient has a really well done tattoo, I'm like, where did you get that done at? And I will make a little note on my phone. It's like if I ever want to get another one, maybe I'll go to them.
That artist. Yeah.
So one time I was doing a skin check when I was doing locums, just dermatology work out in Oregon, and a person had a tattoo of a face on their back like a child, and then they had a basal cell on their back inside the cheek of this tattoo. And it got me thinking, like, would that qualify for Mohs because it's on a face?
That's amazing.
But unfortunately, it would not. But I do hate when people get tattoos on their arms or their back. Sad. And then they get a skin cancer and we have to cut it out and it disrupts their tattoo, especially if it looks really good.
Yeah, if it's like a newer tattoo, you just feel so bad.
Yeah.
I had a similar experience where an old ex-military guy had a tattoo of a topless woman on his arm. And she had a basal cell right on her nipple.
Oh, no.
So we did breast surgery on her. He was making that joke lasted like weeks afterwards.
Yeah, I bet. So... Well, if you're getting a tattoo, people do need to be mindful about where they have them placed.
Yeah.
And I have my ideas, but my preferences are
not Post Malone's.
It's not Post Malone's. It's not Jelly Rolls.
Yeah.
I'm going to go see them in concert. Excited about that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I generally would discourage people from getting face tattoos.
Yeah, I typically would too.
And if you're older, you have an established job, and you want to do whatever you want, that's fine. But, we see sometimes younger people that are getting tattoos on their hands, on their face, up on their neck. And the reality is that can impact your employability in certain occupations.
It can. There's the, I forget what it's called, but it's called like the face tattoo syndrome where that's all people see.
Yeah.
And that's all people are going to notice, even though you may have like a great personality and you may be really well qualified for the job. Sometimes that can be a deterrent, unfortunately. But also durability depends on the location as well. And if you put it on certain areas, it's not going to last as long. The skin thickness can depend and vary. But so besides job qualification, Any other reason why to consider placement?
Well, you have, certain areas are going to be more visible to the sun. So areas of sun exposure, you will see that tattoo fade more over time.
Yeah.
And especially if you're getting a tattoo with a lot of colors in it, and then you get sunlight in the area, it really will impact the durability of that tattoo.
Yeah.
They're going to be a lot more bleeding. I think more modern tattoo techniques and inks are holding up better, but it still remains to be seen, right? We're seeing all of this in, I'm only seeing them, anywhere between brand new to a few years out on the person.
Yeah.
What will they look like in 30, 40 years? We don't really know.
Yeah, you don't see many kind of even millennial age people with face tattoos that have been there for a long time.
Yeah.
But I am seeing younger and younger people with tattoos on their face or around their ears and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that lasts.
So sun exposure, mobility of the area, you get something that curves around your elbow or on your knuckles and it looks great, but then how does it look as soon as you move that joint?
Yep.
That's another thing, and that can disrupt just the way it looks. So you generally want to be mindful of how this is going to look, not only over time, but in different, things that you're doing in your life.
Totally.
So,
yeah. The skin thickness matters. So if you're putting it in a thinner skin or where the dermis isn't as thick, the second layer of skin, it's probably going to fade quicker than if you had a nice thick dermis. Places like your back, your arms, your legs. Scalp has a thicker
the scalp is thicker than people think.
Thicker than people think, but tattoos may last longer there if you have it covered with hair, but if it's exposed to the sun, it probably can fade. But so you get a tattoo somewhere on your body. What would you recommend to a patient who's coming in saying, how can I best take care of this?
Yeah. Now, most of the time, this goes the same thing when we talk about cosmetic procedures. We give general recommendations here, like this is the way we do it. But if you just got cosmetic surgery and your doctor is telling you to do something, you should follow your doctor's instructions.
Totally.
And if you are going to a reputable tattoo artist, they typically will have experience with products that they trust, that they have seen heal well on people. So I generally will advise you to follow the instructions of your tattoo artist. Now, if you did not get product recommendations or instructions from your tattoo artist, or your buddy did it in his garage and you don't know what to do.
Fun times.
What I do, and this is how I cared for my tattoos, is usually I'm going to put second skin over them immediately after the tattoo.
Okay.
That's going to stay on for 24 to 48 hours. You're going to see a little bit of serum collect under that because of the injury. And then when you take it off, you want to use a very hypoallergenic soap. So I think I used Castile soap on mine.
Sure.
And then you want to hydrate the skin in some way.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people like a product called Hustle Butter, and they sent me some before I got my tattoo. It had fragrance in it, so I chose not to use it.
Okay.
I'm generally not allergic to fragrance, but on broken skin, the risk of an allergy is a little higher. And maybe Hustle Butter makes products without fragrance, but the stuff that I was sent had fragrance. So what I chose to use was Dr. Rogers' Restore Healing Balm. We've talked about it on the podcast before. Castor oil, castor wax, and glycerin are the only 3 ingredients in there. There's no fragrance. There's no petrolatum. It is super hypoallergenic. It hydrates the skin. It forms a barrier. And that's what I used, and all of mine healed really well. Yeah.
I've actually had a chance to use that. And it where you put it, it stays.
Yeah.
It's very protective. So I can see that being a great product for post-tattoo care.
If you're getting a tattoo in an area that's under clothing, you may choose still to put some type of gauze or soft bandage over it, just so it's not rubbing and you're rubbing off of the Dr. Rogers, the Vaseline, the Aquaphor, whatever you've been told to use. But if it is in an area that's going to be getting sun exposure, just avoid sun exposure for the first couple of weeks, ideally. Just you got to keep it covered or keep clothing over it.
Yeah.
But then at that point, you do want sunscreen on your tattoos, and that's going to be a forever thing. Now, obviously, we recommend sunscreen all the time, no matter what. But if you really want your tattoo to be durable and to last a long time, it will do better if you use sun protection.
Mineral-based, preferable. UV, and we'll talk about this, breaks down those ink particles. So using a good zinc oxide or titanium dioxide, which it doesn't go on white, it's not going to mess the appearance of the tattoo. They go on very sheer, but it'll protect that from happening. Is there anything that you would recommend a patient to not do besides get it, sun exposure, things like that after a tattoo? Usually
you're going to avoid water. So again, ask your tattoo artist when you can shower over this area. But certainly no submersion in water, hot tubs, bathtubs, swimming pools, lakes, oceans, whatever. Especially open bodies of water where there are going to be bacteria and things more likely. They're not chlorine treated or bromine treated or whatever.
Sure.
So you don't want to be getting it underwater. That's another consideration. If you work in a really dirty environment, you got to be careful about when you're going to get your tattoo versus when you're taking time off or how you can cover it and protect it. Those are all considerations. And we don't have a lot of these conversations with patients because we're not performing their tattoos.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll have to have a tattoo artist come on the podcast and
that'd be interesting.
Break down some of those tips. And we will have somebody on the podcast that does scalp micropigmentation tattoos.
Oh, really?
So that's a whole nother type of tattoo. We talked about scalp tattoos, but for people that are experiencing hair thinning and they maybe don't want a hair transplant, you can get tattoo ink that will match the other, color of your hair follicles.
Interesting.
And it is an art form. It really is a skill because you can't just put big dots on the scalp to mimic hair follicles.
Yeah.
There has to be an artistic version to it where you space them, how you recreate the hairline. It shouldn't be a straight line across. And this artist is locally in Boise based. His name is Vic. And I've seen his work on Instagram, TikTok. We'll have to link to him down in the podcast show notes because he goes live all the time and he shows people doing this. He trains people. They fly in from across the country to learn from him. And,
interesting.
But
does he do eyebrows?
He probably could, yeah. But they just recreate, the hair follicles. So it's good for people who are thinning or who already just shave their head but want it to look like they have greater hair density, and he can really do a good job mimicking that.
I should consider that for my beard. I can't grow a beard out.
But then it's always there.
Then it's always there.
Yeah.
I have to keep it there.
Yeah.
That'd be fine. Okay. Well, so some things to consider after getting a tattoo would be an infection or an allergy. Yeah. And they can look similar, but they are completely different.
Yeah.
If you're getting an infection, it's usually going to feel a little bit more hot, a little bit more swollen. You're going to see a redness spreading around out well past the borders of the tattoo, maybe getting a little bit of pus coming out of it. Whereas infections or allergic reactions to the ink, and lots of times there's different colors that elicit more often allergic reactions than others, but is going to be very itchy. It's going to be red, especially demarcated around where that tattoo is, and sometimes can be blistering, almost like a poison ivy or poison oak,
right?
Which are treated differently. So if you're experiencing something like that, definitely a good idea to go see a provider to help you with that, because we can prescribe things to help combat the infection versus the allergy.
Right. And sometimes these can kick off reactions that look like a skin condition called sarcoidosis.
Oh, yeah.
So tattoo reactions can be really bad. So if you are, to the degree that it's possible, especially if you are getting a tattoo with multiple colors, make that first session a little shorter.
Yeah.
And don't go hog wild on the color. Get that in your skin. Give it some time to see if you react to it, and then finish your session. But red ink is the most common to get an allergic reaction to.
I looked it up to see if, I think it's called Cinnabar mercury sulfate, or not sulfate, but mercury something.
Yeah.
I looked it up to see if it made the contact allergen of the year.
Yeah?
It didn't.
It didn't.
It hasn't yet.
Not yet. Not enough people getting red tattoos.
No.
So that is something to be aware of. If you are not healing normally, you're concerned, talk to your artist at first. They may have some advice. But if things are progressively getting worse day by day, certainly get in to see a dermatologist.
Yeah.
We manage tattoo reactions not infrequently.
Yeah, we see it pretty frequently in the office. Many times, I've seen tattoo sarcoidosis one time.
Yeah, I have too.
Yeah. But definitely I had a lady come in. She got a nice, beautiful rose tattoo on her ankle and she was in Vegas for the weekend, got a tattoo, and just a blistering allergic reaction to the red dye. It was so sad because it's like we managed that. Now we have to try to get rid of the ink, but it's a hard process. It's
because it will disrupt the way the tattoo looks when that reaction goes away. It doesn't settle in the skin like it's supposed to, and it just is not going to look good.
Yeah.
So the other tattoo consideration to think of is a lot of people get henna tattoos thinking that it's just, very benign. They're going to a, traditional Indian wedding or something where everybody's getting that on their hands.
Yeah.
But the traditional henna has an ingredient called paraphenylendiamine, or PPD. And this is also something that they use in a lot of hair dyes, especially darker colored hair dyes. But it's in traditional henna. and it is a frequent cause of allergic reactions on the skin. And so people will get this henna tattoo thinking it'll be gone in a couple of weeks, and they can get a really bad reaction to it. So there's more now options available for non-PPD containing henna style tattoos, non-PPD containing hair dyes. And even in the things that now have replaced PPD, you can still have allergic reactions to. The immune system just is going to react to certain things. But
it will.
Just because a tattoo is not permanent doesn't mean you can't still react to it. And henna there's a lot more henna reactions than traditional tattoo reactions.
And it can be a delayed reaction. So sometimes you'll get the tattoo and everything seems fine. And then one day, all of a sudden, you're getting this blistery, itchy rash around your tattoo and you're thinking, what is happening here? So it's not just the day after you get the tattoo, it's going to blister. It can be weeks, months afterwards. Sometimes years. So, yeah.
So let's transition into a little Did You Know? We've got a little tattoo trivia for you.
Ooh, fun stuff. Here's my Did You Know.
All right.
Otzi the Iceman, the 5,000-year-old man frozen in time.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
He was found to have 61 tattoos on his body.
Any face tattoos?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Yeah.
All over. I mean, 61 tattoos. You're going to have them.
You're going to have them all over.
All over the place.
He was a cool dude back in the day then.
He was the guy.
He was the guy. Otzi. With a name like Otzi the Iceman. Otzi the Chad. Do you think they called him Otzi the Iceman back then?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Just for his sake on Earth. He was just like, yeah, that's me.
Bad A. Yeah. All right, Otzi the Iceman. Well, one of the reasons that tattoos fade is because our immune system begins reacting against them as soon as we get them. Obviously, part of that immune reaction is to just heal the skin, but it is a foreign thing that you're introducing in the skin, and your lymphocytes, your macrophages are going to come in there and start trying to take little bites out of the ink and haul it off.
Nibble it up, huh?
Nibble it up and take it away. And so that is, in addition to UV, even if you get a tattoo on your backside that never sees the sun, it will fade over time because the lymphocytes, the macrophages, are going to be trying to carry that away. And if you get a tattoo in an area, it is not uncommon to get some of that tattoo ink into a regional lymph node. If somebody's ever having a lymph node biopsy because they're concerned about cancer and they have a tattoo in that area, they will see tattoo ink in the lymph node.
Very interesting. So they're taking it over. And interesting.
They're trying to remove it. It's just that most of that tattoo ink is so big, it cannot be carried away by the immune system. And I need to do a little more of a literature search on it, but I've started to see reports that people with tattoos, especially extensive tattoos, have a higher risk of blood cancers like leukemia, lymphoma.
Oh, no kidding. Interesting.
So we've got to better understand the mechanism of that, and maybe a reason to consider not getting a tattoo if you're concerned about something like that. So
interesting. So those macrophages are gobbling up the tattoo, and then now they have a tattoo.
Then they have a tattoo, yeah.
So your white blood cells are all tatted.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So the natural killer cells. I wonder if they have their own.
They have their own version of it. Don't come into my hood.
All right, so that is our Did You Know About Tattoos. Let's continue on with the tattoo discussion.
Yeah.
Maybe this would be a good time to talk about my tattoos.
Let's hear about them.
All right, so when I started posting on social media a few years ago, I made a friend in New York. His name is Dr. Bonasali. He's a derm practicing in New York.
Yeah.
And he was the medical advisor for a company called Ephemeral Tattoos. And Ephemeral Tattoos had a revolutionary idea to create ink that will fade over time without needing to go through laser tattoo removal. And in their tests, they found that using this type of ink would fade in 9 to 15 months is what I was told.
Okay.
And so I was one of the first to get it. They only had one location in Brooklyn, New York. They had done their pre-trials before they came to market. Brooklyn was their first studio. I got my second one in LA. And then they have them in most major cities now.
Same type?
Same type, yeah. Okay. And now they're actually selling the ink to traditional tattoo artists as well. The ink is made from the same kind of thing that Vicryl suture is made.
Oh, really?
And so it's a dissolving suture, but they've inkified it, however they do that with their technology. They have to prepare the ink right before they give you the tattoo. They only have black available, at least when I was getting mine. Maybe they have more colors now.
Yeah.
And so I was doing social media content, and I thought this would be fun to get one of these tattoos. It's not going to be there forever.
Yeah.
And document the process. And so when I went to Brooklyn to get my tattoo, and the company gave me this for free, both of them actually, I decided that I would get something really goofy. And you know, that traditional tattoo that a sailor would get with a heart and that says mom.
Love it.
So I decided I was going to get the heart, but it would say SPF on the inside.
Oh my gosh.
And so I went in, and it's on the inside of my left bicep.
Oh, it's still there.
It's still there. And it has faded significantly over the last year. But for the first 3 years, it was still there. So I was told 9 to 15 months.
Okay. And it's been there for 3 years?
Well, this has been there. This will be year 4.
Oh, man.
So I'm coming up on 4 years.
I mean, it's still mostly there.
Yep,
you
you can still see it. So
that is hilarious.
It has not faded to the degree that I thought it would. I've done YouTube videos on this. I think some people have filed lawsuits against the company because they're not fading.
Oh, yeah.
But part of the reason this is not fading is because this never sees the sun. It's on the inside of my arm. The second tattoo that I got was on the back of my leg. And this one, I decided I would do something more meaningful because I think it's going to be there a while.
Yeah.
So I got an anatomic brain with a strand of DNA going down to an anatomic heart. And then woven into the DNA were my kids' names.
Oh, that's great.
And that one was almost totally gone after a year because it was on the back of my calf and it was getting sunlight. And so it broke down much faster. There might be a little bit left. Let's see. There's like a tiny bit. It just looks like a little bit of dirt on the back of my leg.
Yeah.
So it'll probably be gone after this summer, to be honest.
Interesting.
So
that it breaks, that one's not breaking down.
It's not breaking down.
Yeah.
And then I did get my first real tattoo on Christmas break this year.
Oh, yeah.
I went with a friend. We ran cross country in high school. We ran track together. Still one of my best friends to this day. We're in touch all the time. We were texting even earlier today. So we got the shoe with the Pegasus wing on it.
Oh, yeah.
Just to like memorialize our days in cross country because we formed that bond. We've stayed in touch. Like we've helped each other out. You know, just good lifelong friend. So we both got that. I got it on the outside under my ankle on my foot.
Yeah.
Which maybe kind of a feminine placement, but that's where I wanted it.
Yeah.
It was on my foot.
It's on your foot. You're a runner, so that's how
and then he got his on his bicep. So
that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So, but that was a real tattoo. That one's going to stay there forever, and it's meaningful to me.
Yeah. I always love it when I ask people about their tattoos, and I love to hear the meanings behind them because everyone has meanings behind a lot of them, and it just makes the tattoo cooler in my mind. I'm too much of a wimp. If I ever wanted to get a tattoo, I probably would back out. Yeah. Because I hate needles.
Yeah.
With the fiery passion.
I'll probably do another one with my kids' names.
Did that one hurt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was uncomfortable.
That's
I recorded the whole thing, and eventually I will post it. But it was, I mean, it feels hot, like you're on. It's like microneedling, you know? Like just little needles going in the skin. But it was small. I took 15 minutes to do.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad.
Not bad.
Yeah. I mean, I see people doing one where they're there for hours.
Yeah.
So couldn't do it.
No, tattoo regret is real.
It's a real regrets.
Ragrets.
No regrets.
No regrets. No regrets. Whatever.
Regrets. Yeah.
So this is again goes back to that being mindful of placement and style and what you're going to get. Consider the age,
who you're going to.
Tattoo artists can be amazing, but a lot of people just do it on their own.
Yep.
In a buddy's garage, somebody's practicing, they're apprenticing. So you have to be very cautious about this. And I would tell anybody, if you want to get a tattoo and you're super stoked about it, don't get it. Wait 6 months, wait a year. If you still want it at that point, go ahead and do it.
Yeah. I've heard that advice many times. It's good advice because it makes you think about it. You don't, it's not an impulsive thing.
Right.
So
you're getting something that's going to be there forever. So it's worth waiting at least a little bit of time to determine how bad you really want it.
Yeah.
I would not get a relationship name tattooed on you.
I feel like that is usually the number one thing that we remove tattoos for.
Yeah.
In a previous clinic, I was the one who consulted every tattoo removal.
Yeah.
And almost every time it was
a name,
an ex's name. Yeah. There's some exceptions.
There was a
interesting exceptions.
I don't know if I should say this on the podcast. There's a stand-up comedian that I'm friends with named Jamie Lissow.
Yeah.
And I went to his show, and he says, I used to be a tattoo artist, and I specialized in relationships. So when somebody broke up, they'd come in, and we would just write, is a witch, is B word. So they didn't do tattoo removal, but they just took the name and then wrote, is a bad word afterwards.
That's a niche. That's a very unique angle.
Style of tattoo.
Probably very popular.
But it is a good joke. I liked it.
That's funny.
So
yeah. What's the worst tattoo you've ever seen?
Ooh, the worst tattoo I have ever seen. I have to be careful because this was on a patient. So a patient came in for a concern on their hand, and they were there. They'd never seen a dermatologist before. They worked outdoors. It was clear they got a lot of sun exposure. And so I was like, why don't we just, go ahead and take your shirt off and let's just look you over real quick. I looked at your face and your hands and arms, but, just if your guy's going to get melanoma, it's more likely to be on the back. And he's like, no, I'm good. I'm like, well, you're never going to come in again. Like, let's just make sure you're fine. He goes, okay.
Uh-oh.
But you cannot laugh at the tattoo on my back.
He said that to you?
He said that to me before he took his shirt off.
Oh, now you're like, please.
And so I'm like, of course not. Like, we see all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And so he took his shirt off, and I go around behind him, and I can't tell you what it is on air. I can tell you after because of HIPAA. And I lost it.
Oh, really?
I lost it. It was, I couldn't, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I promised you I would be professional, and I couldn't. And I asked him, I was like, was this like a drunken decision, like in a buddy's garage? And he's like, no, we planned it out and went through several iterations on paper before we got it done.
Oh, no.
And if you search it on Google, it's the #1 result. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
And he has it displayed on his back.
On his back. He cannot take his shirt off at a public pool.
Oh, he's probably, wearing the swim shirts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So I'll tell you what it is after the podcast.
Excited. Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. He was good about it, but clearly he had tattoo regrets.
It's funny that you just couldn't hold it.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
I was so shocked. I could not have predicted what I was about to see.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we see some wild stuff sometimes.
We do.
Oh, no, I'm really excited.
And thankfully, he did not have skin cancer.
Good.
And ultimately, it was unnecessary for me to look at his back because he didn't have skin cancer.
But better be safe than sorry.
Better safe than sorry.
And now you have the story forever.
So if you do want tattoo removal, there's a process for it. You've done a lot of consultations in a previous practice, did laser tattoo removal?
Yep, we did laser tattoo removal. We used CO2. Mm-hmm. And basically, the object of it is to try to break up those that pigment into smaller pieces so that way your immune system can come in. And also that's the laser also kind of induces a little bit of inflammation to stimulate your body's effects to get rid of those particles a little bit quicker. I've seen amazing results where you just a slight, maybe whitish discoloration afterwards, but you really have to be looking for it. But then there are tattoos where you still see it's faded, but it's hard sometimes to remove a tattoo completely. But there are techniques to really fade it, get rid of it. Yeah. And then sometimes you can fade it enough to where you can cover it up with a different tattoo if you want to do that. But we used this carbon dioxide laser to do that.
Interesting, because usually it's going to be like a Q-switch laser 1064 or a Pico laser. So you were just using the CO2 and saw good results with it.
We saw decent results with it. We'd have to make the settings go deeper than usual, but we were using the CO2.
Interesting. I've never heard of that approach.
Yeah, and it worked.
Another idea. There is a doctor out of La Jolla, California, Dr. Ozzy, who is developing a novel technique for tattoo removal. And it's a device that you can get in the office. And that would be another good follow-up conversation to have her come and talk about that. But it's a very different approach and it goes quicker.
Is it a laser?
I don't think it's a laser. It's a little different. Interesting. So I need to read her paper on it.
There's probably so many ways. Yeah, Q-switch laser is the usual way to do it. Yeah. And it does the same thing. It breaks up the ink particles into smaller pieces that your body can more easily resorb. But Yeah, for whatever reason, we were using the CO2 and it worked great.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. The idea behind tattoo removal is that tattoo lasers, or just any laser really, targets a single thing in the skin. CO2 laser targets water in the skin, so it vaporizes the tissue because your cells are full of water. A laser at a wavelength of 1064 targets pigment in the skin, dark pigment.
Pigment.
Your black and brown pigment, as it goes in, it will be broken up by that. Now, the Q switch means that it fires in nanoseconds, so it delivers that energy in just a few nanoseconds.
Just a burst.
And that means you're going to get less heat generation, less pain, because you're delivering the energy over a very short time period. You would not want to use an IPL device to do tattoo removal, because that laser is on for sometimes 450 to 600 milliseconds. So it can be almost half a second that the IPL is firing. And if you have a dark tattoo, that will absorb so much energy and create so much heat, you will burn the skin.
Yeah.
And then the last, I would say, 5 to 7 years, we've started to see the introduction of picosecond lasers on the market. So these are going to be 1,000 times faster than even a Q-switched nanosecond laser. They can deliver that energy, 1,000 times faster at like 450 picoseconds to break up that tattoo energy. So you see better results. Generally, there's less pain. They can move very quick. And when you see these videos online of tattoo removal, the tattoo is dark and they go over it and it immediately looks white and you think, holy cow, that's almost gone.
Yeah,
but you're generating water vapor under the skin that makes it look more white, and that's going to fade over a period of a few hours. And then that tattoo is going to look less well-defined, but you're going to need to go through several sessions in order to fully break up that ink. And then likely you're still going to have some ghosting, meaning just that faint outline of the tattoo, which is easier to cover up with makeup or self-tanner, whatever you want to use, or cover it up with another tattoo.
Totally.
So the best example probably in recent pop culture is Pete Davidson.
Is he removing his tattoos?
Pete Davidson has spent $200,000 removing over 200 tattoos from his body.
Oh my gosh.
And
the pain.
The pain, yeah. So he's going to Dr. Geronimus in New York, very well-known dermatologist in aesthetics. And it's reported that he has spent over $200,000 to remove almost all of his tattoos. So he's kind of doing a rebrand, but his arms are almost totally gone. His arms might be clear now. And his trunk, he had a
ton of tattoos.
A shoot for, I don't know if it was Vanity Fair or somebody, and he was there with his shirt off and he had no tattoos. They probably did some touch-ups on Photoshop or some Dermablend makeup to cover him a little bit, because there was no ghosting in those photos.
Oh, wow. That's wild. Tattoo regret.
Tattoo regret. And a lot of his were not great tattoos. They were like homemade tattoos. And I'm sure he had some like really professional done, ones, but some of them looked pretty unprofessional.
Yeah, that's sad. But hey, at least there's an option to do that. So, and I'm glad there is. So what are the risks of removing a tattoo besides it not going away all the way? Are there any?
Yeah, I mean, it's painful. It's a painful process.
Yeah.
And it's going to take multiple sessions, and it's expensive. It's also very expensive. And those are kind of the main risks.
Yeah.
So again, just be very mindful before you get it, because it's not nearly as easy to take it away as it is to get it.
Yeah. So doing the 6-month wait to get the tattoo is a good option. So when would be a good time to see a dermatologist when you have questions about a tattoo?
So here's my advice to patients. If somebody comes into me and they already have several tattoos, I always tell them, all right, you have a tattoo in this, or you have a mole in this area. Do not tattoo over the moles. Makes it very hard to see if a mole is changing. Yeah. So if you haven't seen a derm yet, you're thinking about getting a tattoo, try not to get the tattoo done over the top of moles.
Right.
It's very difficult to diagnose if a mole goes bad, and a tattoo does not protect you, in any way from a mole genetically mutating and turning into melanoma.
And it's hard to track moles in people's tattoos. We really have to slow down and
So when they're covered with other ink, they're always going to be that color. We can't see color change. It's much harder to see growth in the tattoo.
Yeah.
So they're usually going to be diagnosed much later if they do turn into melanoma.
Yeah.
So get a skin check before you get tattoos. If you're thinking about getting a tattoo in a new area, go have a skin check first and make sure everything looks good in that area. Because again, we don't want to have to cut out a skin cancer through a really nice looking tattoo.
That's exactly right. I've advised people who have a first degree family relative of melanoma. They ask, I've had a few patients ask, I have family history of melanoma, but I don't want to get tattoos. And we say, well, don't do it around tattoos, but
don't do it around moles.
Around moles, I mean. Yeah. And melanoma can show up de novo. It can show up outside of a mole. So there's a small risk there, but things to be aware of.
Right, absolutely. So, and then when you're getting tattoos, you know, getting a full sleeve, a full back, something like that, that's confluent all the way across is going to be a lot harder to monitor the skin versus something that's very, you know, clean, line work, things like that. You can see changes in the skin a lot easier that way. We also talked about, you know, potentially an increased risk of blood cancers, especially with larger extensive tattoos. So if you're considering getting a tattoo or you've gotten a tattoo and you're starting to have complications, inflammation, pain, infection, pus, those are the times to go see a dermatologist.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with you there.
Thank you for joining us on this conversation about tattoos. As we close out, we want to introduce our products of the week, both of which we've talked about on the podcast before. Product number 1 is the Dr. Rogers Restore Healing Balm. This is the glycerin, castor oil, and castor wax. It's a skin protectant and moisturizer, hypoallergenic, no fragrance, no petrolatum. This is what I use personally on my tattoos after I got them done to help heal the skin, and everything went really well.
Available online.
We'll have the link available down in the podcast show notes. And then the second product is our Flawless Sun Shield SPF 45 zinc only sunscreen. This is our Scar Gel Plus sunscreen. It's a very cosmetically elegant SPF 45 sunscreen, but we use this on our patients who are healing from wounds. If you need to protect a tattoo from the sun, this would be an excellent option. That is available at deanskincare.com. You can check both of those products out in the podcast show notes. I'm Dr. Dustin Portela. You can find me on all social media platforms at Dr. Dustin Portela. And Austin, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Austin Lee PAC.
All right. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.